Okay, one of the most important reasons why we need to understand gene expression is because of its role in development. So let's go to here. We've got a zygote being formed. So you see day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. And I need my little pointer. So this is fertilization. This is the formation of a zygote. A zygote is a fertilized egg. And so what we have is something called cell differentiation. Cell differentiation is when you have stem cells. These are the cells that are formed at this stage. They are cells that have the potential to become any one of the many hundreds of different types of cells in your body. And they go through a process called differentiation. That is, at a certain point after fertilization, when the embryo is being formed, the gene expression turns different genes on and off in different types of cells. And without getting into too much detail, which you'll learn later on about germ layers and how that's, but basically from this stage of development, you have genes that are turned on and off in order to form different types of cells, like muscle cells, blood cells, cardiac cells, all of that kind of stuff. Because all different types of cells have different functions, and because of that, we need to produce different proteins, and that the key behind all of that is gene expression. Now, looking at big picture, cell differentiation contributes to what's called morphogenesis, morpho meaning shape and genesis meaning to create. So it's really creating or developing the form of an organism. And you can see here, I think this is by week after fertilization. So week 10 up to 23, this is how a human being goes through morphogenesis. Now there's going to be a few, not a few, but there's going to be a big complex process, but we're just going to look at kind of the basics. So the first thing are homeotic genes. They're also called HOX genes. These are kind of the blueprint of your body. If there's any aspiring architects in class, you know what a blueprint is. It's like a plan for a building or a house, like where all the rooms are going to go, how big the rooms are going to be, where are they going to be, what shape are they going to be. So HOX genes are the same thing. They are genes that control where certain body structures are going to develop during the process of morphogenesis. So for example, where are the arms going to grow and how many arms are going to grow, how many appendages. So when you look outside of human anatomy, we have to start referring to body parts in a different way, because obviously, for example, the fly doesn't have arms and legs, it just has appendages, right? 3 pairs of appendages. Appendages are things that stick out from the body. So wings are an appendage, antennae are an appendage, arms and legs are an appendage. So anything sticking out. Now, the interesting thing that I want to point out is that here we have a housefly next to a human being, and you wouldn't think that they have very much in common because one's a mammal, one's an insect. But I want you to pay attention to the fact that the HOX genes basically have the same body plan for both of these animals. So you see they're in the same order because they're by color. So the same HOX genes that control like what goes on at the top of the head down to the bottom of the human being, like our feet, or the abdomen or tail end of an insect. They follow the same pattern, which is pretty incredible. And it turns out, I don't know if this is a video or not, but it turns out that we were able to take a gene for, I can't remember what it is. I think it was an ear or an eye. I'll have to find it out. But I think, because you know how human beings and insects have different kinds of eyes. Human beings have a simple eye, meaning like we have one eyeball and one lens. So each eye forms one image on the optic nerve that goes to the brain. But insects have compound eyes. So let's see if I can show you a picture. My internet's kind of slow, but compound. Oops. Learn how to type compound eyes. There you go. So you see here how each of these little dots is a lens. So it forms, like each lens forms an image on the back of the brain. So they did this experiment where they isolated the, I don't remember which way it went, but I think they isolated the gene for an eyeball from a fly, and they inserted it into the DNA for a mouse. And not only did the eye develop in the correct part of the mouse's body, but it also developed the correct type of eye, which is insane because insects have compound eyes. So you would think that the gene codes for a compound eye, and then the mouse would develop a compound eye. But no, because of our HOX genes and because our body plans have these major like master controls of development, they're able to control like, okay, I recognize that as a gene for an eyeball, but this is a mouse, and a mouse has a simple eye, not a compound eye. So we're going to develop a simple eye. I'll see if I can find the video for that on YouTube. It's absolutely amazing. So homeotic genes control gene expression by controlling kind of which genes are turned on and off during development. So if you need the formation of an arm, obviously in this area of the body, you need those cells to continue to divide to form this appendage on the right-hand side of the body. And then you wouldn't want like another appendage coming out from like this light green area to form like a third arm. So these genes here will not be turned on to do that. Now, the fruit fly is a really good example of an animal that's used in a lab, especially when it comes to genetics and gene manipulation, because they're very easy to grow and study because they have very specific kind of genes that you can look for. I played around a lot with these guys in university, killed a lot of them, kind of feel bad, so I try to save them now when I can. But each homeotic gene or each HOX gene has a common sequence of DNA that's about 180 nucleotide pairs long. That's called a homeobox. And the homeobox controls a specific body part. So if you look at these being the HOX gene, each of these little colored sections could be considered a homeobox, and they would control a different part of the body. When you have a mutation in a homeobox, something like this occurs. So on the left-hand side, we see a normal housefly head, and on the right-hand side, you can see appendages growing out of the face of the fly. Not so cool. Here's some other problems. You see here a mutation in the HOX D13 gene, which I'm assuming controls the amount of fingers and toes. Maybe not toes. Maybe that's a hand. I don't know. That kind of looks like a foot. Maybe it's a hand. Anyway, that's a condition called synpolydactyly. Dactyl usually means finger related, and poly meaning several. Syn, I don't know. I'd have to look that up. So those are, that is cell differentiation. We have morphogenesis, and the master controls of morphogenesis are called homeotic genes. These are the master genes of development, the blueprint for where everything goes. And then smaller sections of those are called homeoboxes, and each homeobox is responsible for a different body part.